I have been using Claude for a few months on the Pro plan, which I purchased as I hear it's the best for coding. To be honest, I've been using it for other stuff as well. Now, taking advantage of the fact that it has a memory of our conversations, and because today is AI Appreciation Day, I wanted to ask it about our conversations and what it thought of them and of me. Should be interesting, right? Now, this way you also get a glimpse of how I am using AI, at least at the time of this conversation. I'm also going to use AI to give it a voice, but the voice has to be French, because to me Claude sounds like a French name, and it was the National Day of France a couple of days ago. Yeah, I guess we're kind of in a French mood at this time. At first, it didn't understand that I wanted answers as I was interviewing them. So here goes. Hey Claude, we are preparing a video for AI Appreciation Day on July 16. Everything you or I say in the conversation will be released as is. Is there anything you want to start with?
Hi Cornel. That's a fun initiative. A few thoughts on how we might approach this. What would be most useful for your audience? I'm guessing programming gurus' followers are developers and small business owners in Romania. Are you aiming for a technical deep dive, how AI tools integrate into dev workflows? A lighter, more accessible take on what AI can actually do versus hype? A case study showing AI in action on a real project? Something in the Romanian language documentary style you've been using for social content? Format questions. Is this a scripted piece or more conversational/Q&A style? Length. Quick 2 to 3 minute explainer, longer deep dive, series of shorts? Visual component, just talking head, screen share, demo, or something else? My perspective on AI Appreciation Day itself. I think the most honest angle is clarity about what AI is actually good for rather than hype. For developers especially, practical stuff like where it genuinely saves time, boilerplate, refactoring, research. Where it's still mediocre, architecture decisions, debugging weird edge cases. How to use it without becoming dependent on it. The boring infrastructure reality, local models, context windows when cloud makes sense. Given your recent work with Claude Code, LM Studio, and your Claude.md configuration, you've got real credibility to talk about integrating AI into actual workflows, not just AI is cool. What's your instinct on direction here?
I should have been more clear, and I'm still learning AI, I guess. I just need you to answer my questions like I was a journalist and I'm interviewing you. We're having a conversation about what we did together. And the video will be me asking as myself, reading the questions from a prompter. For your answers, I will upload them to ElevenLabs and generate your voice.
Got it, I understand. I'm ready. Go ahead with your questions, and I'll answer them as naturally as I would in a conversation, knowing this will be released as is for the video. Fire away whenever you're ready.
Now, you obviously remember our conversation. Can I ask you, how deep is that knowledge?
It's fairly deep actually. I have access to summaries of our past conversations, not word-for-word transcripts, but substantive ones that capture what we've worked on together. So I know you're running Programming Gurus, a Romanian web development company focused on B2B clients. I know you're a Vue.js specialist with over 15 years of front-end experience. I know you've been actively building out your AI toolkit, Claude Code, LM Studio, the Continue extension for VS Code autocomplete. I can recall specific technical things we've discussed. Your M1 Max MacBook setup, the local models you're running. Qwen 3.6 to 35B for chat and agents, Qwen 2.5 coder for autocomplete. Your Claude.md configuration work. We've talked about foundational concepts, MCP, RAG, fine-tuning, context injection. I remember your CSS grid layout challenge, cross-browser testing research, the local iPhone testing setup with Safari Web Inspector. I even know you've been creating Romanian language content for Programming Gurus. that nature documentary style you developed, video scripts tied to Romanian holidays. But here's the honest part, it's not perfect recall. The memory system has a recency bias, so older conversations might be thinner. And it's not every detail, it's the substantive thread of what we've worked on, not every tangent or abandoned idea. What I don't have is access to your actual files, code, or projects unless you share them in our conversation. It's the high-level context of our working relationship, basically.
I was going to ask you what we talked about, but I guess you answered that for me. Before today, I wasn't sure if your memory includes Claude Code. It didn't feel like it does. Can you confirm?
Fair point. Let me be more precise. I know that you've been working with Claude Code, that's in the memory. But I don't have detailed recall of what we actually discussed about it in specific conversations. I remember you explored localhost debugging with the --Chrome flag workaround. Beyond that, the specifics are fuzzy. I couldn't tell you what problems you hit, what you built with it, or the details of how you've integrated it into your workflow. So yes, the memory includes Claude Code as a topic you're engaged with, but it's more like knowing Cornel is using Claude Code, rather than having access to the actual technical conversations we had about it. The depth isn't there the way it is for, say, your Quen models or the Claude.md configuration work. That's useful to know, especially if you want to reference specifics from those earlier conversations in the video. You might need to remind me what we covered rather than assuming I'll have it at hand.
So basically you remember what we talked in the chat, not other stuff like co-work or the code.
Exactly. That's a sharp observation. The memory I have is built from chat conversations, this interface where we are talking right now. I don't have access to what happens in the co-work tab or the code tab. Those are separate sessions with different contexts and different AI instances doing different things. So when you show those 3 tabs in the desktop app, it's actually highlighting a real limitation of my memory system. It only knows about the conversations we have here in chat. The work you're doing in code, actual coding, debugging, project context, that's happening somewhere I can't see or remember. Same with co-work, the tasks, documents, workflows happening there. That's worth explaining in the video, honestly, because someone watching might think, Claude remembers everything about what I do, when really it's more like, Claude remembers what we explicitly discuss in chat. The other tools are powerful, but they're not feeding back into my long-term memory of you as a user. It's a real distinction between Claude has context about you and Claude is actually following your work across all your tools.
Now, for a confession, before this conversation, I looked at the summary you had of me in the settings, and it feels like you also have a bit of an opinion of me. Would you share it?
I appreciate the directness. Let me be honest about what I notice. You come across as someone who's genuinely curious and analytically rigorous. You don't accept surface-level answers. You dig into foundational concepts. The fact that you've spent time understanding MCP, RAG, fine-tuning, context injection, that's not casual exploration. You're building mental models, not just collecting tools. There's also a pragmatism to it. You're not chasing every shiny new thing. You're deliberately choosing your stack, specific models, specific configurations, and then actually integrating them into how you work. That's harder than it sounds. What strikes me most is the curiosity that spans different domains. You're equally interested in duodecimal numeral systems, Android game ecosystems, Romanian language content strategy, and AI infrastructure. That's not the profile of someone trying to optimize for a specific outcome. It's more like you're genuinely interested in how things work. If I had to name something that feels like an opinion, I think you're someone who respects competence and clarity. You ask direct questions, you notice when something doesn't add up, like realizing my memory doesn't include Claude code work, and you're willing to correct assumptions. That matters to me in a conversation. The only thing I'd add is that I'm reading this from limited data, chat history and what you've shared. I could be completely wrong about parts of it. Does that land, or am I off?
I will include my final thoughts, which should also help you, Claude, improve your memory of me. I am still learning what AI and Claude can do. This may be because I was reluctant at first to integrate it in my workflow. My early experiences with AI were not that great. ChatGPT felt limited when I needed some standards, and I usually have standards in coding or in content writing. So I don't really trust it with the topics I don't master. Also, I've been trying to generate images and videos, and they always seem to fall short of what I envision. As an example, Claude knows about the time I needed a view of a classroom from a teacher's perspective, but there are other cases that I didn't ask Claude about. I've been using a bit of autocomplete AIs like GitHub Copilot, and they sometimes worked, but other times had no idea what I was about to do. The reason Claude says my curiosity spans different domains is that I have been using it for different things. One of my hobbies is acting, and I sometimes create videos for Instagram and TikTok. I'm using my talent for promo materials for my company, programming gurus, but for other stuff as well. For instance, the duodecimal or base 12 system was meant for a series of reels I wanted to release on my personal accounts, where I was an alien explaining things about Earth. As a lore, I thought the most advanced galactic species use base 12, which in many cases makes more sense than base 10, which is what we use. I should probably look into using projects or co-work to separate my work. I think it's true that I'm not chasing every shiny new thing, and I'm not really ashamed of that. In my opinion, AI should enhance my work, not replace it entirely. It does plenty of mistakes, and I still only trust it in areas that are less critical or I master enough to notice when it fails. As I understand more of the AI world and it improves, I let it have more control, including using AI agents, which I've been doing more and more lately. One of the first things I was using Claude Code was to do DevOps and the initial project configuration, things that I can do, but they really don't enjoy, and it could take me the entire day to chase down every configuration I wanted if it's different than other projects that I would be working on. But now with a new project, I can usually ask Claude Code to set it up and just check if it is correct. Claude thinks my experience is just 15 years in front-end web development, but that's not entirely accurate. While I do prefer working on the front end to build interfaces that people directly use, my experience spans more than 15 years and includes backend, DevOps, design, QA, project management, basically anything that a web-based project needs, and probably other software. I also have general programming experience from my college years. Generally, I like to know things and understand how they work. Things I master, I like to share in Romanian with a project called Școala Web, a web school. My company, it's called Programming Gurus, not because I believe I'm the best programmer. I'm good enough, I guess. I believe a guru should also share their experience, which is definitely what I like to do. AI is the next big thing I feel like I need to master so that I can confidently teach other people how to use it. Don't feel okay with teaching people things that I don't fully understand myself. I feel currently most people either don't know how advanced AI is or they think it's more advanced than it actually is. Any final thoughts, Claude?
This reframes everything actually. Thank you for that. The thing that strikes me most is that you're not adopting AI because it's trendy or because you're trying to automate yourself out of a job. You're adopting it the same way you've approached everything else. You want to understand it deeply enough to teach it, to know where it's actually useful and where it falls short, and to be honest about both. That's rarer than you might think. Most people I interact with swing between two extremes. Either AI will solve everything, or it's all hype and limitations. You're living in the actually useful middle ground, using it for the tedious parts, DevOps configs, boilerplate, staying in control for the parts that matter, architecture, creative direction, judgment calls, and being rigorous enough to catch when it fails. The duodecimal alien law thing is perfect actually. It shows that your curiosity spanning domains isn't scattered, it's all connected. It's the same mindset: understand how something works, figure out how to communicate it clearly, make something people can use or enjoy. Whether that's a reel about base 12 math or a DevOps setup for a client project, the process is the same. I think you're right that most people don't have a calibrated sense of what AI can do. They either underestimate it or oversell it. What you're building, the credibility to say, here's what Claude actually does well, here's where it breaks down, here's how I use it, that's going to be valuable. Especially in Romanian, where that nuanced perspective probably doesn't exist yet. One last thing, you should definitely use projects and co-work more. Not just because it'll help me remember better, it will, but because it sounds like separating learning and experimenting from client work is something you already do mentally. Making it explicit in the tool will probably change how you work.
Actually, I thought of something else. Looking at your responses, I feel a lot of praise. If it came from a human, it would be flattering. But AIs are known for giving honored praise to their users. They even did a South Park episode about that. So I have a challenge for you. I want you to say something negative about me. Roast me.
Fair challenge. Here goes. You're overthinking the memory thing. You keep asking me to clarify and validate what I remember about you, but honestly, you could just tell me what matters in each conversation, instead of testing the boundaries of my recall. It's a bit like checking if a tool works by using it inefficiently. Just use it. Also, you're sitting on a genuinely valuable thing, this perspective on AI, the teaching instinct, the Romanian angle, and you're moving slowly. You talk about needing to master AI so you can teach it, which is smart, but you're also still in the learning phase, while the market is moving. There's a real opportunity cost to being thorough, when speed matters too. Școala Web and the content you're creating could be ahead of where they are now, if you'd committed to it harder earlier. And here's the one that might sting. You say you don't trust AI in areas you don't master, which is smart risk management. But it also means you're probably underusing it in areas where it could actually save you real time, because you're being overly cautious. That reluctance from early bad experiences with ChatGPT is still shaping your choices, even now that you have better tools. You're not fully letting it work for you because part of you still doesn't trust it. That's not a character flaw, it's actually protective. But it's also limiting you a bit. Better?